Welcome to Sports Econ 101, the show where we discuss sports topics from a business perspective. I'm your host, Edward Brown, along with my co-host, well-known radio sports personality, Bruce McGowan.
What's happening, my peeps?
Well, that's him.
Yeah.
That's Bruce. And
That's okay. That's a nice impression.
Brucey.
And Vern Glenn of CBS
There's
affiliate
Vern. There you go.
KPIX-TV in San Francisco. Today's show is going to be very special because who do we have as guest?
We've got 00 Jim Otto, the
Jim
former
Otto.
Oakland Raider, Hall of Famer. Played 16 years in the NFL.
Get out, man. We just land the guest. Look at that. That's,
You know, it's funny because he first started off as number 50.
Yeah.
But because the AFL was a new league, they let him go 00 for the aught-o.
Yeah, that's
you know,
right.
Little pun there.
yeah, nobody wears 00 now.
Nobody.
That's it.
That's it.
Yeah.
Well, maybe, like Jackie Robinson, they retired his number forever, huh?
That's right.
You got a lot of that.
Yeah.
And at each commercial break, we're going to be asking a sports trivia question where we're giving away 3 vacations to the first 3 emails with the correct answer. And the vacations are not sponsored by the radio station, but by Lighthouse Resort and Marina. And the vacations are free. Their only request, a $75 cleaning fee to cover the housekeeping expenses. Their website is Lighthouse Resort and Marina. And you can listen to Sports Econ 101 on iHeartRadio, TuneIn Radio, Sports Byline USA, and CRN. And it turns out that about 200,000 people listen to this station.
And a lot of American servicemen, I hear, overseas.
Overseas, yeah, that's it, for the Armed Forces Network. And today's trivia theme is mixed football trivia. We got 2 hard questions and 1 easy one. You guys will do well on that. This segment of
I'll be the judge.
This segment of Sports Econ 101 is sponsored by Pacific Private Money, providing mortgage investments that are currently yielding 8% secured by real estate. It doesn't get any more conservative than that. Check them out at pacificprivatemoney.com. Don't touch that dial because you're listening to Sports Econ 101. When we come back, we are going to have Hall of Fame Jim Otto, who played many years for the Oakland Raiders. The Raiders.
All of his years with the Oakland Raiders.
That's it. All right, we'll be right back.
The greatness of the Raiders. I don't know about that. That sounds good enough to me.
So we do keep, this is a family show, so we do keep
Am I in the Raider locker room?
Yeah, exactly. Okay, all right, guys. Let's get this thing started here. Here we go. Well, welcome back to Sports Econ 101. I'm Edward Brown, your host, along with Vern Glenn
Sup?
and Bruce McGowan.
Good to be here.
Now, we are pleased to have on the phone Jim Otto, Pro Football Hall of Famer.
The 00.
00.
Yeah.
Otto.
Original Raider. 1960 to 1976 was
That
it?
is amazing.
You played for what, 16, 17 years with the Raiders?
Yeah, I was 1975. That was 16 years.
Yeah.
There was the pirate with the patch on the helmet. Was it there from the very beginning?
From the very beginning.
Wow. Okay.
They were trying to call us something else, but it just didn't go over very big, and we were the Raiders right from day one.
Who was the model that wore the patch for that?
Well, I don't know. It depends who got beat up the most. They wore the patch, but no, we didn't have anybody wearing the patch. Sometimes when I go to a party or something, I'll put it on just to make people get a chuckle.
Yeah, one thing's for sure. Whoever designed the patch, Al Davis got a pretty good deal on it.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Now, before we came on with Jim, Vern, you were starting to ask him a question. We want to do that on the air.
I was just curious. Just in the 1960s, it's rugged, it's gritty, it's guys playing both ways. It's it's mano y mano. It's true,
No
gritty, tough guy. Yeah, football. Yeah, you get hurt, rust from dirt on you, go back in. But I'm just wondering, Jim, in the heat of it, and you had no idea in the future that the NFL would just explode to just take on a life of its own to be this $9 billion a year machine. You guys ever see each other in the huddle? Yeah, what the hell are we doing? Good gosh, gee, man, yeah, everything hurts. What are we doing?
No, I never did. I was always looking for a score. We were gonna put together a touchdown or something. I was always very optimistic, and as far as money was concerned, money was nothing necessary for me. I was 24 years old, when I started, and no, 22. I was 22 years old, and when I was a rookie, and I made $7,000, and I was just happy as could be.
Tell us about how Al Davis was back then when you began?
Well, Mr. Davis came on board with the Raiders in 1963. It was after we had played 3 years. We had the season of 60, 61, and 62 behind us. And Mr. Davis came in as managing general partner, or actually, excuse me, he was a general manager and the head coach. The other came later. But anyway, he came in there, and I had played in a couple Pro Bowl games in the early American Football League, and Sid Gilman and his staff were the coaches for our team. And that's where Mr. Davis and I first got our acquaintances. And I really respected the man because I noticed the football knowledge that he had, and this was before he became our coach. And I thought, gee, I just wish our coaches had something like that. In those days, I don't know what it was. They didn't have that knowledge, and for many, many years, Mr. Davis was ahead of all of them.
It's a great thing about the old AFL, though, Jim, and you know this better than we do, is that you challenged the NFL. You were kind of considered the Mickey Mouse League by a lot of the media folks, but yet at the same time, the AFL offered opportunities for African-American players. That opened up the game more with the passing game. It was really an exciting kind of football to watch. And I remember as a little boy going to a couple games at Frank Ewell Field with my dad and thinking, this is better than what we're seeing across the bay with the 49ers.
Well, it was, and it was actually Mr. Davis who forced that upon the National Football League, too, when he became the commissioner of the American Football League, and he went about signing a few of the players, like even John Brody, for goodness sake, and people like that. We started taking some people away from the National Football League, and the National Football League had to sit up and take note because they weren't messing with just anybody. They were messing with Al Davis and the American Football League.
And then I guess 1965. That was the great signing of Joe Namath to the American Football $200,000 contract, and I would imagine that's what made the AFL, Jim, just impossible to ignore.
Well, it's like the USFL when they used to give those.
Well, definitely. I mean, he was an outstanding college football player, and for the New York people that get him, it was just a real big coup because the media in New York was so important to every type of sports game, and it was so important to the American Football League at that time. So it gave us all a boost in the arm. You know, we all thought, well, golly, maybe I can get some of that money, and some of us didn't get it at all, but that's all right.
Now, you guys had such a colorful image, though. I mean, we talk about the Raiders in the 70s, and I think a lot of that was sort of media-driven, and you had characters like Ken Stabler, but then you had the guy like Gene Upshaw along the line and Art Shell, who were just, I mean, Gene was a talker, I know, and Art was kind of the silent type, but you played alongside those two guys for what, 12 years or something?
Yeah, at least something like that. They were good football players. You know, they like Gene was a talker. He was the commissioner, we called him, and and he went on to do great things for football in general, for the National Football League, and for a lot of football players. But in those days, if someone was talking a lot, we just didn't listen to him either. You know? we were there to play football, and that's what we were going to do. And if there was any abusive talk, it wasn't going to come from me. I was going to shut it up. That's sure.
Yeah.
Your main quarterbacks were Stabler, Blanda, and I guess LaMonica, right?
There was a guy by the name of Tom Flores in there.
Oh yeah.
And Babe Pirelli, Vito Babe Pirelli.
Mm-hmm.
And a few guys like that came in. Pirelli went to the Patriots, and but we had some interesting guys.
Speaking,
and Tom Flores was no slouch, I'll guarantee you.
Speaking of quarterbacks, weren't the Raiders the first ones to initiate the red quarterback jerseys in practice because you guys are so tough? I mean, these guys were just getting hit.
Well, I don't know if we initiated it or not, but it was a good idea for the quarterbacks so they wouldn't get hit. And I remember even in college we had another color for the quarterbacks to use. That was back just hit.
Yeah, well, hey, Jim, the reason I was mentioning that was I was thinking, hopefully your quarterbacks would thank the front line. A lot of times these guys, the front line, hardly anybody knows anybody on the front line. But, if you're not blocking well enough, the quarterback's getting hit all the time. And, the Raiders always had a strong offense.
Well, we had an offense, and sure, you can bet your boots we had to give Tom Flores, 7 and 8 seconds on pass protection because he had bad eyes and he had a hard time seeing the receivers downfield. But we did protect him, and he appreciated it because after a game, he always made sure we had a couple extra beers.
There you go. Okay, stay with us. Jim Otto, professional football player, Hall of Fame, illustrious career, all with the Raiders. We're going to cut to our first commercial break here, and the theme is mixed football trivia. Who was the first Cincinnati Bengal to be inducted in the Hall of Fame? All right, the first 3 emails with the correct answer are going to win a free 3-day, 2-night stay at the Lighthouse Resort. Email edward@sportsecon101.com the answer to this question. Who was the first Cincinnati Bengal to be inducted in the Hall of Fame? And he's definitely well known. You guys will definitely know the answer. And if you don't know it now, you'll definitely know it later. Don't forget, email edward@sportsecon101.com the answer to that question. And don't touch that dial. We'll be back, Sports Econ 101 with Jim Otto.
Could it be a coach?
No.
I was going to say Paul, because I was going to say Paul Brown.
Is it a player that maybe started with the Bengals but then made his name with another team?
No, he was well known with the Bengals.
Wow, geez, Ken Anderson maybe? Quarterback? Ken Anderson?
Boy, that's going
number 14.
Let's see.
I'm thinking the Bengals started in '67. Who do you have any idea, Jim, on that answer?
No, I don't.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Yeah. I'm trying to think of their great wide receivers. Isaac Bruce was a great one. Not Isaac Bruce.
Icky Woods.
Icky Woods he was only there a couple years.
Yeah.
I should really know that because I probably went in the Hall of Fame before they did.
Yeah. I was going to say, you went in 1980, Jim?
Right.
That was a great year because not only did you go in the Hall of Fame, the first Raider, but the Raiders won the Super Bowl that later that year.
Yep.
That's
Wow.
right. Against the
And then
Philadelphia Eagles.
And then George Blanda followed you the following year. That was kind of cool.
Yep.
Yeah.
True. Yeah. And then right in a row there, we had several guys.
Yeah.
Is George still playing? I mean, he played for many years.
Good old George. He was around. I think he passed about 2 or 3 years ago. He was like 85 years old.
Yeah.
Good life.
Yeah. George is playing up there with the Lord.
Yeah. There you go.
In fact, I'm going to give each of these guys this issues. It was a piece written about me in the Juice for Jesus thing.
Oh, okay.
It's kind of my testimony.
Okay, cool.
All right, guys, ready? We're going to go into the trivia question, then we'll come back and ask Jim some questions here. All right, here we go. Well, welcome back to Sports Econ 101. Again, I'm Edward Brown, your host, along with Vern Glenn.
The Raiders.
The Raiders. Yeah, that's right. And Bruce McGowan.
The greatness of the Raiders.
Yeah.
That's what Al Davis always used to say. I loved it.
In fact, Jim's the only one who calls him Mr. Davis. Everyone
That's
calls him Al.
he deserved that respect. Yeah.
Okay, first commercial break trivia question, mixed football trivia. Here was a question. Who was the first Cincinnati Bengal to be inducted in the Hall of Fame?
Well, Vern, you picked.
I guess Ken Anderson.
Yeah.
I'm probably wrong.
I don't even think he's in the Hall of Fame, is he?
No, I don't
Paul
think so.
Paul Robinson, running back. No.
Jim, you got any?
Bob Trumpy.
No.
Anthony
Munoz.
Anthony Munoz, of course.
Yeah.
Offensive lineman.
Yeah.
Hello.
While we're here, we're talking with an offensive
We're
lineman
talking with a
here.
lineman, yeah.
There
We're not showing the proper respect.
Yeah.
Right. That's what I was going to say.
Hey, speaking of linemen, tell us what John Madden was like. And he was the line coach, wasn't he? Before the head coach?
No, he was a defensive linebacker.
Oh, okay.
The first year he was with us, and the very next year he became Mr. Coach.
At the age of 33, too, or something.
John was a guy that was very intent on winning. The intensity was always great, and he wanted to do good for all of us, and he wanted to do good for the Raider organization, Al Davis and everybody, and just did a tremendous job, and us guys loved him, and we played for him and played our heart out, and I still have just the fondest of memories of those years.
Now,
you guys,
I understand now, when you trained at the old El Rancho in Santa Rosa, and John could get a little upset during practice. I understand you had a nickname for him called Pinky because of the tone of his face. True?
Well, he would get very red faced when he would start hollering. I mean, there's certain guys that have certain pigmentation in their skin, and when they get their blood pressure going just a little bit, it'll cause your head and your face to get very bright.
Yeah, I was going to say, Jim, that when I was a young guy, 24, 25, 26, I used to come down from this little TV station in Eureka to come and cover a game, and I'd have a friend of mine hold the camera and shoot the sideline footage, and he told me after shooting a couple of these games that he had to stay away from Madden or turn down the sound because the words coming out of his mouth weren't the kind that you wanted repeated on a nightly news show. So he was.
I was always in the game. I never heard that.
But then he always said, I've got 3 rules: show up, play like heck for me, and pay attention when I talk. Is that basically it for?
Well, that's a good thing to follow right there.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
When you have a head coach, you respect him with the highest, and you want to listen to him. And naturally, when he's on the sideline and you're in the game, and someone misses a block or the receiver didn't run the right route or something like that, he would be hollering quite a bit. Finally, he would send someone in for him and get it straightened out, and it was all part of the game. I played for a lot of different coaches in my lifetime, and I've always expected someone to get, a head coach to be very disturbed if something doesn't happen, and he's got the right to chew someone's backside out.
Jim, I want to ask you a question about a specific play, a very famous play, and if I remember correctly, wasn't it against the Dolphins with the Dave Casper?
You're talking about the
Holy Roller or the Sea of Hands?
That was against
that was the Chargers. Yeah, that was the Chargers.
At San Diego.
Yeah. Okay.
But that was after Jim had retired by that time.
Yeah, I just retired.
Yeah, a good one to ask him about would be the Sea of Hands play because
and the Heidi game.
And the Heidi
game. That was the one.
And I was lucky enough to, as a fan, Jim, I was sitting in the stands with my dad for both those games. Tell us about the Heidi game, and that was 1968.
1968,
yeah.
right? Yeah.
Against the Jets on national television.
The Heidi game was one played against the New York Jets, and it just seemed like every time we would score, they would score. And then we would score and they would score. It was going back and forth, back and forth. It was really toughly fought the entire game. And, it was just, they kicked off to us after they came ahead. And one of our players, Preston Huber, was covering the kick. The receiver fumbled it. He got the fumble and flew into the end zone for a touchdown. And we won. It was right at the end of the game. It was, the television networks had already taken us off the air because there was less than a minute to play or something like that, and they had to get another game going. And there we were. Nobody in New York knew what happened. They didn't know that we beat them because it was the Heidi game. The Heidi game was. Heidi was coming on television right at that time, and we were going over the start time for Heidi, so they had to take us off the air and let Heidi get on the air.
Yeah, and the PS to that is the NBC execs were trying to get through to the switcher in the control room to keep the game on, but nobody could get through.
Yeah.
And the Heidi game, it just went on as scheduled.
Obviously not a football.
And nobody got to see the end of a fantastic, one of the many great Raider finishes.
Unless you were at the game, which I was at the game, and lucky enough to see. How about this?
It was a great game, and be part of that type of football for so many years as I was with the Raiders in that era. Out of 9 seasons, we won 7 playoff games, and they were all tough fought games by a 2-point game or 1 touchdown or something like that. It was great. It was great football.
Did the Jets have to go through you guys that year to make
They did.
the third Super Bowl?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And they barely beat you too. As I remember, LaMonica got the ball down to the 10-yard line, but then they threw a little swing pass that was mishandled by Charlie Smith, and the Jets recovered and ran out the clock.
Yeah, I think what our viewers and listeners don't realize is the Raiders were in so many AFC Championship games. I mean, you guys really deserve to go to a lot more Super Bowls than you did.
Well, I was looking up here, the Jets, then you had Kansas City, Baltimore, Miami, and Pittsburgh.
Wow.
I mean, it's just boom, 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 you know. And,
Yeah.
But you got your revenge against Miami in that game where you dethroned the two-time champions in the Sea of Hands game. And Jim, I was at that game, and that today is still considered one of the greatest games of all time. I remember Al DeRogatis listening to a tape of that game. One of the commentators on NBC who was working with Kurt Gowdy said it was maybe the greatest football game I've ever seen. What was it like playing?
That was the famous. He caught it. He caught it. He caught it.
Clarence Davis.
It was another game where we would score and they would score. Whether it's 3 points and they would score 3 points. Whether it was 6 points and we would score 6 points. It went back and forth like that until finally we were down and we said, we got to score, baby. Come on, we got to score this time. And I remember we set up and I had Manny Fernandez over my head, and he come rushing me, beating the heck out of me, and I was blocking him, and all of a sudden I felt a good feeling, and the crowd kind of made a noise, and there was
Clarence Davis.
Clarence Davis catching that ball in the end zone and going down with it for a touchdown and winning the game. It was fantastic. I'm very fortunate to have been able to play in football games such as that. A lot of guys never get that chance, and I did.
Man, because Clarence Davis, he wasn't exactly like the tallest guy on the field. How he came down.
Well,
with
nor
that
did he have
ball.
the best. He did not have the best hand. According to Fred Poletnikoff, Jim, tell me if this is true. Freddie always used to tell me that and George Atkinson said this too, that Clarence Davis had the worst hands of anybody on your offense. So for him to make that great catch with 3 guys all
He
over.
had the best hands, but I tell you what, he was almost out of his reach and just got to his fingertips, and he had it, and he pulled it in and went down to the ground, and that was a touchdown.
You know, just thinking, you're mentioning Manny Fernandez, and I remember this, that he was one of the strongest guys in the NFL. I'm thinking he used to bench like 575 pounds back then, before all this big steroids. And I'm thinking, how would you like to be Jim Otto going against Manny Fernandez?
Wow.
That must have been
all game long.
Keep that helmet on the whole time.
Oh my God.
We just beat each other up pretty good, and most of the time I came out of it, I think, feeling pretty good about it all.
Well, the thing is that a lot of people don't realize this, Jim. You played every single game for your entire career. I don't think you missed a single game.
I missed one game. It was a preseason game, but if you total them all up, it was 308 games.
Wow.
And the thing is, you paid the price because you've had like 40 operations or something just ridiculous.
Yeah.
I remember NFL Films did a thing on you, Jim, where they kind of chronicled you from like the time your alarm went off and you would get up, and it'd take you like 40 some odd minutes to get like from the bed to the shower.
I have a wonderful wife, Sally, and she always took very good care of me. She made sure that if there was medication I needed, or if there was some type of massage or therapy that I needed that was requested by the doctors or the trainer, I got it. And by Sunday, my head had already cleared up. I was ahead of the game and I was ready to play.
Do you ever have any regrets, Jim, that all these injuries have taken their toll? You're in your mid-70s now, and you've had a lot of crippling injuries and near-death experiences on the operating table. Are there any regrets at all that you played this game for so long?
No, I had a dream the other night that I wanted to play, and they were trying to talk me out of it. I don't know.
Hey, Jim,
anyway, I love to play football. I wanted to be in there. I love the camaraderie. I love the guys and what we did together to win. And, and then playing for a group of fans like we had, playing for our coaches and everything, it couldn't have been better.
Okay, Jim, stay with us because I got to go to another commercial break and then we're going to finish up with you, okay? Second trivia question. Johnny Unitas spent 17 of his 18 seasons with the Colts. Which team did he retire with in 1970? That's an easy one. We have to get one easy one. A softball one. Okay, the first 3 emails with correct answer on a free 3-day 2-night stay at the Lighthouse Resort. Email Edward at sportsecon101.com. The answer to this question.
Jim Otto knows that.
Yeah, of course. Well, don't say it yet. Johnny Unitas spent 17 of his 18 seasons with the Colts. But which team did he retire with in 1973? Don't touch that dial. Sports Econ 101 will be right back.
I remember right at the game, they took his uniform right off. They took it off and went right to the Hall of Fame.
That was it was the Chargers.
Chargers, yeah.
Wow.
Like I said, we have to have one easy question.
You guys are so smart.
Well, because we didn't have to get a real job, Jim, so we got to talk about sports. My wife is still mad at me because I only work part time. She goes, "Why don't you get retrained and find something else to do?" And I said, "I don't know what else I'd want to do." You know?
I can remember sitting around the lunchroom. This is in like middle school, and just talking about sports all the time.
Yeah.
And the headmaster walked by because this little small private school. He just kind of goes, can't you talk academics?
No.
I'm like, no.
Yeah, we had too much fun.
Yeah.
Too much fun. I still know the rosters of teams from the 1960s better than I know the rosters of the current teams. It's crazy.
I have a Jim Otto. I don't think it's his rookie card, but I have several Jim Otto football.
Oh, you still have your football?
Oh, yeah.
Well, thank you very much.
It's the camera angles pointed up, and there's Jim in the black double uniform and looking like straightforward, like he's about to lunge.
I always thought Jim.
Yeah.
Jim, I always thought you looked like Thor. You know, did anybody ever call you that? I mean, you look like the Norse guy.
I looked like
his hair wasn't long enough.
My face was either bleeding or I got out full of mud or something. I guess Thor looked that way.
He took a few shots.
You know, I always, you look at the gladiators and how they, in these movies and everything, and basically a bunch of us guys are just like that.
Yeah, no question. No question.
How do you guys want to finish up?
Just keep talking about his career and
life, yeah.
Will you have any fun stories for us?
Well, I haven't really thought of any. There's some that couldn't be repeated. But,
I would like to know what the tone of the locker room was after the immaculate reception was ruled.
Okay, hold on.
Was ruled a legal catch.
Okay, hold on. Let's get. Okay, hold on a second. Let's get into that.
Yeah.
Okay. Hold on a second. Okay, welcome back to Sports Econ 101. Edward Brown, your host here, Vern Glenn, and Bruce McGowan, co-host. When we cut to the second commercial break, we asked this trivia question. Johnny Unitas spent 17 of his 18 seasons with the Colts, but which team did he retire with in 1973?
The San Diego Chargers.
San Diego Chargers.
Rival of the Raiders.
Yeah.
Yes, that's true. Dan Fouts.
Yeah.
Vern, you want to ask a very scary question?
Oh, yeah. And Jim, I not to bring up bad images, but the game against the Pittsburgh Steelers, the immaculate reception, the whole bouncing off of Frenchie Fuqua into the hands of Franco Harris, and then I mean to this day, there's a lot of Raiders that go, hey, you know what? That was not a legal catch. What was the mood of the team locker room after that shocking ending at Three River Stadium?
Right following after the reception and the touchdown, the stadium was just crazy, and the officials didn't know what to do. They were, if you remember, they were on the phone up to the box. They were calling New York. They were calling all over to find out what to do, and our defense had been in the game, and I was on the sideline. Well, what I did is I just looked for some place that I could hide under because the fans were just tremendously just wild. And I thought, boy, I tell you what, they're going to rule in our favor, and I'm going to get the heck underneath this stand right here.
Yeah, because the fans had overrun the field, and the story is George Atkinson tells me this, and Allo Casal, who was Al Davis's right-hand man, said that the official, Fred Schwerington, called upstairs, and what he asked was, how much security can you give us down here? and they said we can give you 4 guys, and he goes touchdown, Steelers score.
And
I don't know if you heard.
anyway,
Yeah.
it's true. You said it. It hit Frenchie Fuqua, bounced off into Franco Harris' hands, and at that point, that was not a legal reception.
Yeah.
And Franco took it down, and it was a bad one. It was just terrible.
I remember watching it on television and thinking to myself, this isn't real.
Yeah.
This is
I still remember
just
that.
too unreal. And it was interesting too because it really jump-started the Steelers' great run, and it also started 5 consecutive years of you guys up against the Steelers. What was that like going up against the Steelers every year in the playoffs?
Well, we knew we had to do it, and they were a tough team, and they had the impetus on us, and it was very difficult to beat them. They had good players, and in those days too, we had some players. We had some injuries that hurt us, and every time we get in the playoff game, there'd be something wrong with some players, and some guys would stay out after curfew and not come in all night long, and used to just drive me nuts when some of our guys would do stuff like that, and that can cause a big problem on the field the next day.
Is that the toughest defensive line though you ever faced? I mean, me, Joe Green, L.C. Greenwood, Dwight White, and Ernie Holmes.
They were all tough guys, definitely. I mean, there were a lot of tough defensive lines in the National Football League that I played against, and they were one of the toughest. Joe Green and I used to have some pretty good beefs out there, and I mean, there were times he was he didn't play very clean, like I just got through blocking him, and I was about to get up, and he kicked me between the legs. And he said, "Take that, you SOB," and I mean, it was a tough game out there. No matter what, we beat on each other the entire game.
I'm trying to think of who would be on the line when you played against the Rams and Deacon Jones, but I'm just wondering, whoever it was, did they ever get the head slap from Deacon Jones?
Maybe John Bella.
Yeah, John Bella would have.
Man.
Bob Brown, guys like that. They got the head slapped, and I used to pull out once in a while. If I saw Deacon getting past our tackle, I would go out and hit him, and he may have hit me on the head. I don't know, but most of these guys today claim they have concussions and they need some money. They're suing everybody for concussions. I had about 35 concussions.
And you're still talking pretty clearly to me. So maybe you were made out of sterner stuff. I don't know.
I'll send you some money for sale.
Well, Jim, actually, after you retired, you owned a bunch of Burger Kings in California.
I owned Burger Kings. I had walnut orchards. I had apartment houses. I started a bank with some partners. Now there's with the group that I've basically integrated with, we have about 158 banks. It's called Umpqua.
Oh yeah, sure. Very familiar with it.
Wow, look
I didn't know you were
look
part
at
of
you.
that.
Yeah, look at you.
Well,
Enterprising.
I got a great story to tell about Jim. I was driving up to go skiing once. This is about 25 years ago, up to Tahoe, maybe in the late 80s, early 90s. And I stopped at the Burger King in Auburn, where I used to work in radio. And it says Jim Otto's Burger King, and Jim was right front and center, doing all the work, and pictures all over the entire place of him and his career. But you were setting the example. These young guys were kind of watching you, and you were serving people and taking their orders. I mean, you were front and center there.
Boy, man, rolled up his sleeves, got his hands dirty. Yeah.
I always was that type of guy, and I enjoyed my customers very much. I mean, I would go around the dining room with a pot of coffee. Skiers coming back from the mountains, they'd stop there to get gas, and then they'd also have a Whopper, and I'd pour them coffee, and they just couldn't believe it. Jim Otto poured my coffee. Oh,
That's awesome.
That's awesome.
Where did you get your business acumen? I mean, I don't know. What did you study in college?
I went to the University of Miami, and I have a ring on my finger that proves that I got all good grades.
Okay.
I didn't say whether they were A's, B's, C's. I got all good grades. And I did. I'm very proud of the fact that I wear my Miami ring every day. And my Raider ring. And it was just something that my father taught me when I was a little boy. He used to be a delivery man for a laundry. And he would go house to house and deliver laundry that he had picked up, the week before. And a lot of times he'd say, Jimmy, why don't you take this up there? The lady will give you $1.25, and don't forget to say thank you. And so I'd take this little bundle of laundry up to the door, knock on the door. He'd be going across the street to the other house, and the lady would come to the door, and I'd say, laundry man. And I said, that would be $1.25. And she'd give it to me, and I'd say, thank you very much, ma'am. Have a Merry Christmas or have a great Thanksgiving. That's what my dad taught me.
Wow.
And I couldn't, that was if there was a business acumen, that was from my pop.
Customer service.
Yeah.
Great.
Well, that's you read about all these guys who make all this money and then they go broke within a few years. And you had a long career compared to most of the players, but it sounded like you used your business sense.
Well, what we did is I have a wonderful wife and children, and I wanted to be successful. And you can't be successful unless you work at what you're doing. And everything I did, I tried to be the best at, whether it's football, working for Mr. Davis as his business manager, whatever it was, I wanted to be the best there was. And I pretty much conquered most everything in doing that.
I couldn't say much more than that. Jim Otto, to me, and I've said this to Jim, and I'd like to say it again, epitomizes what we like about sports and what we like about people who play sports, because he does it the right way.
And the passion that he had for it.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And do you get a chance to mentor some of the players?
Every once in a while, I'll just say something. I try to make it very choice words in doing so. So the person is going to get something out of it, not something that doesn't make sense, but it does make sense, and a person's going to respect me for it. And with that respect, I think he's going to try harder.
Well, great. Jim Otto, Pro Football Hall of Fame center for the Oakland Raiders.
What a thrill. And Jim, it's so good to talk to you and so good to hear your voice sounding so strong and positive. And after all you've been through, you have every right to feel a little down, but you're not down at all, I know.
Well, it's good to hear that you guys are still working you work for newspapers now, or what do you do?
I'm at Channel 5 in the Bay Area.
Yeah, and I work at KGO Radio part-time in San Francisco.
And I've got so many licenses, I just do continuing education for a living.
Well, that's good. Nothing wrong with that.
It's like when I remember
you got a wife working for you or something like that. That's
not
pretty good.
exactly, but
Yeah, Jim, my only regret about this entire chat is that we're not having it over our favorite adult beverage.
That would be nice.
Yeah.
I used to indulge in that quite a bit, but I don't know. I get away from some of those characters, and I turn into kind of a wimp.
Oh.
That's maybe the secret for your success is you stayed fairly, clean.
Yeah.
That's why
I did stay clean. I'll guarantee you that right now. But I could drink more beer than anybody on the team.
Even Stabler?
Stabler couldn't drink. He
Ah!
couldn't drink coffee. I mean, he would have a couple big belts of whiskey, and then he was all set.
I think Blackberry Brandy, I think, was his favorite, wasn't it, Jim?
I don't know.
it's like
It's great talking to you guys. Let's have a great football season this year, and we always appreciate you guys being behind us. You have all the years that I've played, and we really appreciated you guys doing that for us.
Thanks, Jim. Thanks for being a guest on the show.
Good seeing you, or good talking to you, Jim.
Thank you. God bless.
All right. Yeah, that was a good one. That was a good one.
I had no idea when you first had him, before we started the show, when you first said, hey, Jim, and I thought, Jim, I said, who's our guest this week? And then I realized it was Jim Otto, and I hear this voice, and I know what he's been through the last few years.
It's a really distinctive voice, too.
Yeah,
I mean, you know it's him.
But he sounds upbeat, though.
But he sounds so upbeat and strong, and you think about what he's been through. You know,
he's lost his leg.
Yeah.
You know,
and he's nearly died at the operating table 4 times.
But you get him on the subject of football, then
boy.
he perks up.
Yeah, he does.
You know?
A true veteran.
A true gladiator, too, but one who played the game the right way.
Now, he said he got grades. He said he got good grades. He didn't know what.
To tell you which grades, but they were.
It's like I remember getting a D one time.
Yeah.
And my mom says, "What is this D?" And I tried to be prideful. I said, "Hey, they don't just give out D's to anybody, you know."
That's right.
I always had a line for that. D stands for dandy.
There you go. That works. Okay, we're going to cut to our third and final commercial break. This one may be kind of easy too. In 2008, which defensive back set a record for intercepting a pass and running it back for a 108-yard touchdown? The first 3 emails with the correct answer win a free 3-day 2-night stay at the Lighthouse Resort. Email Edward at sportsecon101.
Can you give us the conference? NFC, AFC?
No.
Oh, okay, fine. Fine, all right.
Well, over the break, you can think about it.
All right.
And if you don't come up with it, then I'll tell you the conference.
Scratch my nappy head and figure it out. All right.
Okay, in 2008, which defensive back set a record for intercepting a pass and running it back for a 108-yard touchdown? Bruce, you know this one?
I know which team, but
Okay,
I'm not sure the name of the guy.
Okay, don't say it yet.
Yeah.
All right, don't touch that dial. Sports Econ 101 will be right back with some closing comments.
Chicago Bears, right?
No.
No?
Oh,
No.
you mean Hester?
Devin Hester, right?
That's what
But
I
it's
would've
not.
thought.
But it's not.
Oh, it
It's
isn't?
just- It's not Devin Hester.
It's not
Not
Devin
Devin
Hester.
Hester.
That would have been good. That's what I would have guessed.
Yeah.
I don't know the answer.
108 yards. Wow.
You know,
God, I'm not going to get that one.
I know a guy from the Chiefs did it, but I don't think it was 108.
it was 128.
God.
You know, it's funny. I love talking to guests, and so all these other things I have, it's like if we don't get to it, we don't get to it.
Yeah.
Just keep.
With
finding
Jim,
it
it's,
out.
you know, you
Jim is, yeah.
That's the great thing about doing this program, I think, is that it's so spontaneous.
Yeah.
And that's the key, I think, to enjoying it.
Just a bunch of guys sitting around a bar. Again,
Exactly.
without the drinks.
Exactly.
That's why I think they like it too.
Yeah, oh yeah, they all enjoy it. Billy Bean really told me the other day after we did the show, because I saw him that evening, he said that was a lot of fun. And he normally doesn't say those things. He doesn't like, it's not like he doesn't like talking to me, but he just doesn't.
Well, we don't put people on the spot, you know.
Yeah,
That's
he
something.
just doesn't make himself very available.
Yeah. All right, ready?
All right. Yeah, wasn't anybody in the Raiders or 49ers who would remember that one. Yeah.
And away we go. Welcome back to Sports Econ 101. Last time, I'm Edward Brown, your host, along with Vern Glenn and Bruce McGowan.
We are here.
All right, here is the question, and Bruce thought he knew the answer.
I thought it was
but he didn't.
Yeah.
And with Vern here, I see the smoke coming out of his
man.
But here's the question. Which in 2008, which defensive back set the record for intercepting a pass and running it back for a 108-yard touchdown?
And I was going to say Devin Hester of the Bears, but I think that actually happened a few years before. Might have been a few years before.
Okay.
So
So now I'll give you the conference. AFC.
Was it a Kansas City Chief?
Bronco?
Who won the Super Bowl a couple years ago?
Won the Super Bowl a couple of years. I can't remember who won the Super Bowl.
Who beat our Niners?
Oh, the Seahawks.
No.
Or no?
In
The Baltimore Ravens.
Yes.
Okay.
And who would that be? Who would that player be?
Oh shoot! Now you're getting
5, 4, 3, 2. Ed Reed.
Ed
Reed.
Reed. Oh jeez.
In fact, I
who
think
finished up with the Houston Texans.
And he played till he was what, 36, 37 or something?
He had that Django look. Yeah, his hair was all wild and gray.
Tough player.
Yeah.
I don't remember that. Jeez.
Yeah, good old Ed Reed.
Okay.
108, man.
Wow.
You'd think a guy would, just go ahead and
Take a
down
knee.
it. Yeah.
Take a knee. Jeez.
I remember one
Back
time.
at the end zone?
Yeah, but no, do you remember a kickoff? I think it was the Rams. It was a kickoff, and the guy just kind of let it go in the end zone. It just kind of blocked. Nobody was doing anything. So boom, he picks it up and runs. 105.
That's happened a few times, yeah.
Okay, here's our thoughts for the day. The first baseball player to order a bat with a knob on it was none other than Babe Ruth in 1919.
There you go.
And in Laos, Laos? How do you pronounce it? Laos.
It's
Laos.
Laos.
There you go.
Yeah,
Thailand
yeah.
and Cambodia. They built a 27 hole golf course on the border between 3 countries. Most of this golf course was previously a minefield.
Wow.
I would hate to hit it out of bounds. I'm telling you that.
That's a great one. I like
Okay,
that.
tune
Yeah.
in next week to Sports Econ 101. We're going to be discussing sports topics from a business perspective and giving away more free vacations for answering sports trivia questions. Thanks for listening. On behalf of our team, I'm Edward Brown, your host. We'll see you next week.
Good night, America.
So long.
God, I would love to know the story. How Babe Ruth would come up with the idea. Hey, put a knob